So let's go deeper into recruiters, right? We mentioned it previously on our first video. We gave a neutral I would say bias towards them. That's the general understanding when you go in, before you get in, when you get in, and when you get out. The general understanding is that the recruiter lied to you. When we specify that, when we specifically say those terms, we're mentioning specifically that um, they are trying their best. We mentioned in the last video that it's a very small Marine Corps, and it's a numbers game when it comes to the occupation of being a recruiter. So they're going to try anything in their power to get you rolling. It's just like a car salesman, but a little bit more importance tied to it with a 4-year to 6-year contract of your life. Right. So if I was going to be a recruiter, right, with who I am as a man, I think as a B billet, I think that would be my ideal billet if I was subject to be a recruiter, right? So how that process looks. So let's start out at the career level, right? If you're a recruiter, this is how this usually goes. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. So you do you do a 1-year contract or a 4-year contract, one enlistment, and then from there, you have to be at least a corporal to start and go into the recruiter school, which I believe is in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. And then from there, you go through the trials and tribulations with that. I haven't heard too much difficulty with that. It's mainly a hustling / administrative job that's tied to a numbers game, right? So you got to look at that in that standpoint. Usually the individuals that are your recruiters, right, are one enlistment in. Okay, so their experience, I would say, is not to its fullest extent to give a correct and truthful perspective. Also, you got to put in perspective too. It's any MOS, so meaning that they come from any job. So you can have motor T, you can have admin, you can have a grunt. So their perspectives change drastically. A grunt, what they do different things, different perspectives from what an admin does, right? And their experiences dictate how they are as a recruiter, right? If you're motivated and still going, there's a good chance that you were a poke. Let's just put it that way. And that's not 100%, right? But you have to feel the vibe, the energy of where they're coming from, because they're going to bring that from their just out of contract 4-year. They just signed another 4 to be a recruiter. And that's just how it usually goes. You can also have higher enlisted, more experience. But so that's where I would start out with is understand where they're coming from in their career. I say the whole Marine Corps experience is a career. And if they were to sign another 4, they've made the choice to make it somewhat of a career or a major life choice to dedicate 8 to 10 years plus in this. So understand that baseline. I'm going to stop there to see if Nick, you have anything to add to the baseline of understanding the individual and their current duties.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, you pretty much, you hit like the a good part of it. It's when you're on like this mission to find out which what route you want to go. I mean, you might have known your whole life you wanted to join the Navy, or your whole life you wanted to join the Army, but you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn as soon as you start talking to a recruiter exactly the good things about every branch. You're not gonna hear the bad things, and if you do hear the bad things, they're usually watered down versions of it than what actually happened.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
that being said, all my recruiters were non-combat roles. My personal recruiter was a cook,
Oh,
and
wow.
one of the other guys was a motor T guy. I don't know what he did. I think he drove, and then my And then another one was this old staff sergeant who was a grunt, and he went to Iraq and all that stuff. Yeah, he was super old. He was like just about to get promoted to gunny, and then he left. Super cool guy though, super chill. Um, and I mean, but they all come off that way for the most part. And so I'm not like this isn't going to be about like don't trust your recruiter. They lie to you. Like we're not gonna tell you anything. It's just know that there's a lot more that's probably not being said that you should probably know before going in. And it's really difficult, um, especially I think Marine Corps is probably the notorious for it because we're so small and we need more. We always like they're always needing more Marines all the time, and so they're having to kind of butter you up a little bit. Like my recruiter 100% honey potted me, like honey potted me for sure. Like totally was like my bro. I still have his number.
Right.
Like super cool. I still love him, and I understood he had a job to do.
Right.
I get it. And I'm still happy I joined. I'm still happy I went through all that, despite like me wishing I didn't do admin. I'm still glad that I got to do it and meet all the people that I met and make these connections. Like this wouldn't be a thing right now. We wouldn't be talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I think you can get a lot of more questions answered from vets who were just in the military, like within like the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a lot more information from them, a lot more honest information because they're not on a mission. Like they don't have a goal to get you to sign paperwork.
That's a great point of view, Nick, that you mentioned, because it really highlights what we're doing here. It highlights who we are. Because when I was going in, I was doing my research. I was going on websites and I was going on YouTube, watching the videos, trying to prepare myself. And I didn't know what source of information I should be looking at. And you hit it right on the nail. Veterans, people that have been through it. You could tell the salt dogs. You could tell the negative people. The other perspective I was going to add too is like with these recruiters. I said this last video. The further you're away from the flagpole, the more lenient and more chillax you are to a certain degree. And that applies to being a recruiter. Recruiter, most of them, correct me if I'm wrong, most of them are living on their own. They're not tied to a base. They're not tied to housing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's none of them are because they're
if they're in that circumstance, they're definitely going to be less uptight and more lenient. I guess it comes with the job as well, to be more comfortable with the civilians and poolies. But you have to understand that perspective too. That is not, when you see a recruiter that they're all suited up. Yes, they look like it, but how they act and who they are as a person and what they tell you, that's not the majority of the Marine Corps. The majority is going to be in garrison life, in a base, tied to a flagpole that they have to do colors for every single day. And what comes with that is more baggage on your shoulders, more I don't know, more stuff on your chin for you to be angry and more disgruntled about. And that's why, and it just gets into like a snowball effect where it gets even more and more throughout your career. And then you end up being a salt dog. And that's how the term salt dog. I mean, the term salt dog comes from something historic. We use it as a term of being just like disgruntled because of the experiences in the Marine Corps.
salt dogs.
And like I said, it just comes like a fire. Like you fire a snowman, you build in the snowman, and gets to a certain point, and that's how it usually goes. Recruiter, that in my perspective, I haven't done it, but in my perspective, it's kind of like a release of all that disgruntledness, and separate yourself a little bit from the Marine Corps to get more on the civilian side of things. You have your own car, you have your own house, you have your own situation. So that's another lens to put to a recruiter, and why they're acting that way. It's understandable, like who wants to be tied to a flagpole for 20 years? Everybody needs that break. Everybody needs that away from the garrison life to breathe. and not be tied to the limitations that are set forth. But yeah, anything we go
Yeah,
deeper
I
on
think
anything?
yeah, when I said like you can get a lot more information probably from recent active duty guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should also be careful who you talk to,
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be like a lot of those people who are really bitter about their experience. They didn't get to do what they wanted to do, and so they're going to blame somebody. A lot of people in the military are quick to blame somebody else. I think, especially during peacetime, because we got nothing
Right.
else to do but to get mad at each other, and so a lot of guys are going to blame their recruiter, or they're going to blame whoever their the commanding officer was. Like they're going to
Mm-hmm.
blame somebody for their shitty situation that they basically put themselves in, because you
Right.
volunteered to do this. And so it's very important that you talk to as many people as you can. Talk to vets, talk to your family, because they're the ones who care about you the most,
Right.
if you're fortunate. Talk to all the branches. That's exactly what I did. I talked to every branch. I was going to join the Army. I might have mentioned this before. But then I talked to all the branches. I decided, you know what, I wanted to join the Marine Corps. Sure. And I ended up doing admin, which wasn't the worst thing ever, but definitely not what I expected. I expected to do more Marine stuff. Um, and there's nobody's fault but mine, because I did the paperwork. I made the grown-up decision, which is what everybody's going to have to do. If you're thinking about joining, you have to, at the end of the day, you have to make that grown-up decision for yourself, and
Right.
then you have to live with it, because that's your life now for 4 years, and you don't get to really choose where you go for the most part. I think
Right.
you get like the
Unless you have a connection on the inside.
right, and unless for the most part, at least for us, I don't know about you, but for my class, when I was at my MOS school for my
Mm-hmm.
job, they gave us the option to write down where we preferred to go,
Yeah.
which was just like West Coast, East Coast, or international, like overseas. And for the most part, I think they try to fulfill those requests, but at the end of the day, it's whatever the general needs, right? It's whatever the big guy needs, and so they give you orders, and then that's it.
Right.
And now you're going, and
Yeah.
you got no one really to blame but yourself.
Right.
And I think something that you have to understand too is the military in recent years has had a very serious problem with recruiting. They're not getting as many recruits as they want. It's actually, I think, in like the last couple of years, it's been the very lowest that it's ever been historically. And understand that there's a lot of different reasons for that. The Marine Corps is quick to, or the military as a whole, I think, is quick to blame its population. Like, oh, we're not finding any good candidates. But at the same time, they're also blaming, they place limitations on themselves that don't allow people to join. And I think it's gotten better in like the last 2 years, with like the tattoo policy in the Marine Corps. It's starting to go away now. It used to be you couldn't get sleeves at all, but now they're allowing sleeves, which is cool for people. There's just like a lot of small things that disqualifies candidates who would make great Marines.